Let's say the two greatest teams ever assembled were going to square off in a 7-game series. Who would you take? The 2017 Golden State Warriors and the 1996 Chicago Bulls are arguably the best teams in NBA history. The Warriors, coming off of a 73-9 regular season in 2016, added one of the best players in the world, Kevin Durant, to their 2017 roster. Meanwhile, the 1996 Chicago Bulls had a 70-12 record and had the best player of all time, Michael Jordan. The Golden State Warriors have had one of the best dynasties of all time. But at their peak, do they down Michael Jordan's dominant Chicago Bulls? This topic is unique because these teams played in different eras. So the Warriors playing in the 90s or the Bulls playing in this era could change the opinion for many people. Let's check out what other NBA legends think about this debate. In an episode with Gilbert Arenas, comedian Aries Spears brought up the topic, saying he gives the Warriors maybe 2 games. Arenas went ahead and tried dissecting the matchup to see who has the upper hand.
It's a perfect matchup, but when you're talking about somebody like Jordan coming through the lane, like he's gonna average 40-something that series because there's no one that can physically stop. It's gonna be KD and Jordan. Those are going to be 2 premier players because they don't have a 7-footer that's going to be able to keep up with him. No matter if you put Pippen on him or Jordan, or what's it, he's still going to be able to pull up on anybody. So it's those 2, and then Jordan is going to carry.
After finally making a prediction, Arenas said the Warriors will win 2 games at most.
I'll give them 1, maybe 2. Depending on how mad Michael is. Okay. But you got to remember, you still got KD is just a different beast. So
okay.
He can carry the team. He can carry a team because you really he's gonna put Pippen in foul trouble. He'll put those guys in foul trouble, but there's nobody stopping Michael from getting. But I don't think Golden State wins this series now.
Just like the GOAT debate between Jordan and LeBron James, fans will continue to speculate and will make statements based on preference more than anything else. It will always be a hypothetical situation, and there's no way both teams will face each other to assert or disprove claims. Byron Scott also believes the 2017 Golden State Warriors could have mostly won 2 games against the 1996 Chicago Bulls. The 3-time NBA champion firmly believes the Bulls side was equipped with the artillery to take down the Warriors, who won the championship in 2017. Speaking to Aries Spears during a podcast, he believes it would be the Bulls who would emerge victorious.
I give them 2.
But
I'm going with the Bulls.
Okay.
I give them 2. Because you look around at that Chicago Bull team and you look at that Golden State team, and this is always the question. Oh, who gonna guard Steph? Who gonna guard Clay? Okay, you do know they had 3 of the best defenders of all time.
The Bulls.
Yeah.
4 out of 5.
Yeah, in Michael Jordan,
Scottie Pippen, Ron Harper,
Dennis Rodman, and Ron Harper. So they gonna guard the out of them.
The 2017 Warriors versus 1996 Bulls has been one of the most debated topics in the NBA, and now we know Byron Scott leans towards the latter. Sticking to the old heads from the 80s and the 90s, John Sally was more known as a part of those Detroit Pistons teams of the late 1980s that kept Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls from reaching the NBA Finals. But during the Bulls' record-setting 1995-96 season, Sally was on the Bulls bench as a back-of-the-rotation player later in his career. So, when TMZ asked about whether or not the 2016-17 Golden State Warriors could beat those 1995-96 Bulls in a matchup, Sally defended his team.
No.
Really?
Steve Kerr, young Steve Kerr, with the Steve Kerr that's reffing with a bad back, against a young Phil Jackson that still had black hair, and a Michael Jordan, and Dennis Rodman, and a Scottie Pippen that had already won 2 or 3 championships? No. And we were allowed a hand check? Kidding me?
No
way. He wouldn't have been allowed to dribble. Steve Kerr would have been, oh my God, we would have been all over that guy.
He's got a lot of confidence in his team against the best team of the last decade. But it's almost that he has almost too much confidence in the Bulls in a fantasy game against the Warriors. This Warriors bunch was downright scary, with 4 legit all-star players, and the league's best offense with one of the best defenses in the NBA back then. One of those all-stars, Draymond Green, a key player in the success of the Golden State Warriors in recent seasons, has sparked this debate by stating on his Twitter account that the 2017 NBA championship winning Warriors would beat Michael Jordan's legendary Chicago Bulls team from 1998, the 2017 NBA Defensive Player of the Year, as well as pointing to the Bulls, also shared his thoughts on the NBA rivals in 1998, the Utah Jazz team of John Stockton and Karl Malone. I'm watching the 98 Bulls versus Utah in the finals. I can't help but notice our 2017 team would have beaten these Bulls by a dub, and these Jazz by 40 if they're going to play these brands of basketball, Green wrote. The styles would certainly be different with Golden State spacing the floor and launching threes, and Chicago relying on Jordan's individual brilliance and physicality. Perhaps the biggest question is what role Steve Kerr would play, considering he was a sharpshooting guard for the Bulls and the current head coach of the Warriors. And who was there to slam him downright anyway? None other than Chicago Bulls legend Scottie Pippen, who's weirdly siding with MJ for once. A rarity these days. Scottie Pippen said the words with gusto. He isn't interested in a debate on the topic.
Just put this out there. The best team to win a championship is the 98 Bulls.
What made that 1996 team specifically so great in Pippen's memory?
Our record.
He said flatly.
Okay, tell Mr. Chairman Draymond I yell back.
The Bulls finished with a 72-10 regular season record that season, then marched through the playoffs with a 15-3 record. Pippen didn't get into specifics, but certainly any matchup between that Warrior squad and a Chicago team featuring Michael Jordan, Pippen, Tony Kukoc, Dennis Rodman, and others would be quite a doozy. Ultimately, and to Green's point, such comparisons are folly because of the differences in play styles across eras and the hypothetical nature of the exercise. Still, there's no doubt this debate will rage for a long time. Now, probably the only one who can actually have a say in this is a former player of the Bulls and the current coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr. Kerr was even asked how his squad from 2017 would stack up against the one he suited up for 2 decades ago, and couldn't wed to either side. And when asked who's the team that would be a problem for the 17 Warriors, this is what he said while watching the situation from afar.
Yeah, and I'm biased, so I'm going to say the 96 Bulls. And I think, honestly, when I look back at that Bulls team, that team was actually built to play today. Now, minus the volume of three-point shooting, but I think that team was capable of it. But when you're talking about the versatility that you need to defend today, if you throw out onto the court Ron Harper, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Tony Kukoc, and Dennis Rodman, that's a 2020 defense.
Right.
Those 5 guys can guard anybody, and then offensively, nobody ever could guard Michael Jordan then. You can only imagine now with the spacing and the rules, and Kukoc was unbelievable. He was way better than people really remember him for. And so that's the hard part. You said it. It's so hard to compare eras. So
a true analysis from a proven champion. The man told us it's really up for debate. But it is fun to fantasize about this matchup. Yet, it's impossible to know how good those Bull teams would have been if brought up in the same wide-open playing atmosphere, which is what makes the debate so intriguing. Hope you enjoyed the video. Do you think the Bulls would come out on top in a 7-game series against the Warriors? I would love to hear your opinion, so let me know in the comments below. Drop a like and subscribe to our channel for more amazing content. And hit that notifications button to stay up to date whenever we drop more fire content. See you next time.